Welcome to the Sugar Freedom Channel. I'm Catherine Best Gordon. The purpose of my videos and my channel is to help people get over overeating and obesity. I managed to do that more than a decade ago, and I'm sharing my experiences and research so that other people can do the same thing. The progression that I had to go through in order to overcome a lifetime of overweight, hunger, and ultimately obesity was, first I reduced sugar, and then I took out grains, and then processed vegetable oils. I changed the way I moved, eliminating traditional cardio and replacing it with weightlifting and interval training. And then as time went by, I went ketogenic, and then just recently I also added the protocol of doing a carnivore program, taking out pretty much everything but animal foods. And it has been very effective so far. And so I want to share some of the research and some of the things that I'm trying to do to understand why I had to not just get off of sugar and grains, but essentially pull most of the glucose out of my diet completely. The problem started way back in childhood with eczema. Eczema is an inflammatory condition, so something was happening when I was just a couple of years old that was causing this inflammatory response. Probably some kind of immune system function. And so whatever it was, and it's still a lot of mystery surrounding eczema. There is some research, there was some research that was done as far back as 1928 examining glucose intake, insulin resistance, and eczema. And I do believe that there is a connection between inflammatory responses, insulin resistance, and the outcomes which often show up in me and in many other members of the population as overweight, overeating, and obesity, storing too much food as fat. One of the things that I've been studying is this concept of inflammation leading to insulin resistance, leading to excess adipose tissue storage, which then exacerbates even more of the insulin resistance. So it's kind of this vicious cycle. And one of the things that has happened going carnivore is I've managed to break the vicious cycle, trying to figure out what is going on. Certainly, going carnivore, going keto, even doing sugar freedom, you're pulling out the sugar, you're pulling out the foods that break down into sugar, pulling out the glucose, and you're running on free fatty acids instead, beta hydroxybutyrate, especially when you go keto. By the way, I am testing my levels most mornings and staying right around 0.5 millimolar when I test my blood with my Keto Mojo meter, which is right around, the lower level of where you have to be in nutritional ketosis. Not ketoacidosis, that's a completely different subject, just nutritional ketosis. And I find that if I stay at that level, I see improvements in mood, but most of all, I see extraordinary improvements in appetite. Last week, or just a couple of days ago, I did a live video discussing the correlation, how inflammation influences appetite, and what in the world is going on with that scientifically, specifically, what is going on. And what we see is that inflammation does influence the expression of leptin. And one of the examples that we can use is this understanding of the difference between how we react, how the appetite is changed in acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. So it's December here in California, and it is flu season, and so the flu is going around. Luckily, I've managed to avoid it so far. I've been drinking my Freedom Tonic, Bragg's apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, and some turmeric, and I haven't got it yet. However, lots of people around me have had it, and one of the things that we notice is with acute inflammation, like we see in influenza, appetite is actually reduced. And so what's happening is oh my goodness, the names of these different molecules, POMC and all of this, but what's happening is there is an effect on leptin and leptin sensitivity, which tells the appetite to reduce. And it's funny, is it starve a cold, feed a fever? Very unusual, but basically what we have is inflammatory behavior. Have you heard about inflammatory behavior? With inflammatory behavior, the human being or even the animal, the organism, isolates, gets very quiet, wants to go away, be away from people, and be quiet and heal. You look at the extraordinary benefits of that. That not only benefits the individual, they have time for the immune system to take over, to fight the infection and heal, but they also isolate themselves from the rest of their group, human group, and that way we hope that they're not infecting the other members of their family, their village, their tribe. If you think about it, if you're watching this video right now, congratulations, you have survived. And as a human being, your ancestral line must have been doing a number of things right so that you could adapt and survive. And one of the adaptations that we have is that when we get an infection, certainly when we get influenza, we isolate. And one of the normal reactions in the non-obese person is they're going to get influenza. Well, heck, I can even remember getting the flu even when I was still caught up in compulsive overeating. And that was one of the rare times when, believe me, I wouldn't just not overeat, I wouldn't eat at all. So in these acute, dire situations, my immune system and these functions actually worked. But the rest of the time, in obesity, and in this study, yes, they were studying obese mice, but something about that store of extra adipose tissue was causing a disconnect in the normal response that insulin was supposed to cause. And I think we can understand it pretty simply in terms of insulin resistance and leptin resistance. Insulin resistance is in the news. I mean, certainly we know that insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, leads then to type 2 diabetes. But what we didn't understand until recently is that leptin resistance is also a reality that prevents the body from responding to leptin. A couple of years ago, well, more than a decade ago, when leptin was discovered, everybody thought it was going to be a miracle that we could develop a drug that would raise leptin levels and that would modify people's appetites and they could lose weight. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But unfortunately, when we chronically elevate leptin levels, what happens is we get leptin insensitivity, and so actually we get the opposite of what we wanted. It's kind of like if you think in terms of if you're listening to loud music, a lot of loud music is just going to, your hearing is going to get worse and get resistant to it. But if you turn the music down, eventually you will resensitize. Now, I'm not saying that we can heal hearing loss by turning down the music. No, I'm just trying to make an analogy of when the noise is too loud, very frustrating, very upsetting, and then when you finally turn it back down, sensitivity returns. Make sense? All right. Now, things got really complex when I tried to dig into what was causing the leptin resistance. And what we understand now is the process that's causing this is methylation, DNA methylation. And so as soon as I started to study methylation, I was like, oh my goodness, I've dived down a whole new scientific wormhole, and there's so much more that I need to understand and to study. But what I do want to share with you today is, and I will of course post the link to the study that I read that's talking about methylation, its connection with type 2 diabetes, obesity, BMI, is that if you have the patience and the willingness to study the science, the answers are going to be there. So, regulation of methylation. So, what is methylation? Well, the simple definition is it's changes in DNA expression, and it can be caused by aging, smoking, and diet. Guess what? I'm 55. I used to be a smoker and had issues with my diet. And methylation changes the expression and the behavior of different genetic responses. So many of these different enzymes and hormones, long names, and I promise that I will go further into trying to study and trying to elucidate the real world ramifications of methylation. But what I can do right now is, of course, I will post the link to this study, and if you're willing to go ahead and read the study and dive in, you, like me, will start to get some understanding of what are the physiological changes that are leading to fat storage increased appetite, and sometimes even to type 2 diabetes. So as I begin to wrap up this video, one of the things that I do want to express is that I think the main reason that I had the determination to completely eliminate sugar and then go keto and then go carnivore is that all I ever really wanted to do was act, sing, and dance. I'm a theater professional. I did, go to Hollywood for a while and found that it was very difficult to find work on camera without being exceptionally lean. Of course, if I was even more brilliant, maybe that wouldn't have mattered. But the reality is that I had to diet so hard. If you think about the cliche of the starving actor, well, maybe the actors aren't starving because they don't have any money. They're starving because they're trying to get thin so they can get on camera. At any rate, I was usually able to work a lot more in the theater. The theater is not as rigorous and demanding in terms of wanting, female actors to be thin. Yes, they still want us to be lean, but it isn't as hard. However, I did find that when I was overeating, not only would I gain weight, but I had issues with my joints, so that affected my ability to dance. I ended up breaking my foot in 4 places. So there's still this connection between inflammation and my ability to do what I love. There's certainly a connection between inflammation and singing. Now that I've gone keto and gone carnivore, all of these notes have come back in my upper register. I can comfortably and easily sing the A above the staff, quite easily sing the B flat, and on a good day with enough volume, I have the high C above the staff. And I'm 55 years old. My voice has not been this free, this functional, this good since I was about 15. So this is one of the astonishing things about taking sugar, grains, glucose, going keto, going carnivore. In my experience, it's very anti-inflammatory and also really, really beneficial for my mood and for my sleep. Some other things, I don't wear nail polish. I stopped wearing it about a year ago. My nails are growing better. My hair is growing faster. And oddly enough, I find that my nails and my hair are in even better condition going carnivore than they were when I was just keto, which I thought that was kind of strange. Unless what's happening is that as my inflammation cools, as my inflammation reduces, this allows the processes that grow my hair and nails to come back online and to be more healthy and more vital. So I'm going to start to wrap up this video now just with the idea, and I'm going to put the links to both of these articles, How Inflammation Influences Appetite, and also the article on the connection of methylation with type 2 diabetes and BMI. I'm going to post those in this video so that you can click on them and go and take a look. I think it's much more beneficial for you to actually read these studies a little bit better than me trying to explain them to you. Although, as an actor, what we do is we do communicate the writing of other people to our audience. So I really appreciate your checking in with me to get more understanding of not just that taking out sugar and grains, that it does work, but also getting an understanding of why it works, which for me, and possibly for you, gives me the confidence, the impetus, the determination to keep the sugar out of my diet even as we go into the holidays. I would much rather have some substitutions than go back to the sugar and then have to break that sugar cycle all over again. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Come back here to the Sugar Freedom channel. Please like and share, especially if you know someone who is struggling with overeating, with obesity, sugar addiction. Share a video so that they can see that there's somebody out there who has overcome it, and by continuing to abstain from and eliminate sugar, that obesity stays in check, stays in remission, and life just gets to be a lot more fun. All right, take care, everybody. Get out there and have a wonderful day, and I'll see you back here soon on the Sugar Freedom channel. Bye-bye.